Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of the Dear Herbalist Podcast titled Too Much, Not Moving, Dampness in the Body, and Your Direction. If you are new here, you are most certainly welcome. And if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for your continued support. I certainly appreciate that. Tonight, we are going to dive into dampness. And this is a pattern in traditional Chinese medicine that shows up as heaviness, sluggishness, or accumulation. But here's the twist. It doesn't just show up in our clients' bodies. It shows up in our practices or our businesses, our minds, and the way that we operate as herbalists. Yes, I'm calling you out tonight. So if you've ever felt weighed down by too many ideas, too many courses, or too many obligations, then tune in tonight because this episode is just for you. Now, let's get into it. So what is dampness in the body? In traditional Chinese medicine, dampness is about things that accumulate because they are not transformed. I'll say that again. Dampness is about things that accumulate because they are not transformed. So common symptoms in the body include heaviness in the limbs or the head, sluggish digestion or bloating, brain fog or lack of clarity, swelling or puffiness, and a sense of being stuck. Dampness slows down movement. It blocks clarity and it makes things feel heavy, both physically as well as energetically. Now think about how this mirrors our lives as herbalists, right? Accumulated tasks, too many ideas, or holding on to too much information, all of this creates mental and energetic dampness. So yes, this is a very important topic for a lot of herbalists. So if you know of anyone that might need to hear this, please share it with them as well. Let's talk about how dampness shows up in herbalist lives, right? And it does show up in our lives as herbalists, and it could show up in everyone's lives, whether they're really herbalists or not. But let's talk about it from the perspective of how it shows up in our lives as herbalists. Dampness in a business will tend to look like a few things, okay? One, it could look like feeling overloaded with information or ideas. And if you are an herbalist, you definitely know this feeling. Why? Because the body is complex. The plant body is complex. And in their complexities, they interact with each other. And that interaction process in and of itself can be complex. And so there is a ton of information out there. And I think a lot of times herbalists try to simplify it by, let me just pop something on YouTube and see what I can get from there. But what you don't realize is that, a lot of different people are talking about a lot of different things. So now not only do you have to, focus on absorbing that information, you have to determine, are these ideas accurate? You got to fact check, right? You got to dive deeper. You got to go from watching podcasts and taking courses to now actually reading books. So there could be a sense of overloaded or overwhelmness that may come with a lot of information or ideas. Okay. Another thing is collecting certifications or courses without applying them. So sometimes herbalists may go out there and just say, you know what? I feel like I'm on the right path. I'm talking, I'm giving the information, but I've ran into the validation roadblock, right? The validation roadblock is that block where you have a lot of people like, man, you're awesome. You're amazing. The information I'm learning from you. And I tried what you said and it worked for me. This is great. Who taught you? What certificates do you have? Right? It could go that way, or it could go before you even open your mouth. Well, who certified you? What herbalist school have you gone to? Before we decide if we want you to come speak, basically in so many professional words, you have to be validated. So what happens? We go running to get as many certifications and courses and all these things. And next thing you know, you get overwhelmed and you're like, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know how to apply these. Right? And there's nothing wrong with courses and there's nothing wrong with certifications. But if you're going to pay that money, okay, even if it's free, don't do anything in herbal medicine that you're not going to apply. If you see a course, it could be a great course to take. But if you know you're not going to apply it, move on to one that you will apply. right? So you're not wasting resources for yourself. Okay. Dampness in your business can also look like having too many projects at one time. So there was a time where writing courses, and then I start on this book, and then I start on that book, and then I start on this book, but I don't finish any of it. Okay. A lot of heaviness and dampness with no focus. Another thing is difficulty making decisions because everything feels heavy. And if you feel the weight of herbal medicine, especially when you're trying to make recommendations, to people for their health, you feel that weight because you care. Let me just say that. You feel that weight and it feels heavy to you because you genuinely care about making sure that you're doing right by this person, that you're making sure you've made the proper assessments of their health, and you care about whether or not that plant or that formulation you created is actually going to be effective. So it's a sign that you care, but it feels heavy because you're having trouble making a decision, right? So that could be dampness. And then another thing is slow progress despite working hard. So you're a part of that grind culture. You are posting every day on social media. You're making your podcast, or, you're writing your books, or you're going to several shows and all that. And it just seems like nobody knows your name. The progress seems slow, right? That could be dampness. And so this type of stagnation is sneaky because it can feel productive, right? You're always busy. You're moving around, you're making moves, you're doing your podcast, or you got your products out there. People are buying them. They're flying off the shelves or your cart or wherever you're selling them. But then you notice your energy is scattered and nothing is really moving forward, right? You're doing things, but it's not moving forward. So many herbalists, that I work with, I notice there's a sense of guilt for letting go of ideas or projects, right? But holding on to too much, I have to remind them, and you and everyone else, can create more friction than just letting go. That is dampness in action. It's the accumulation that will block your flow. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about why, I guess several other reasons why dampness hurts herbalists. Unchecked dampness can lead to confusion and indecision. It can also lead to procrastination masked as preparing, right? Ouch. It can also be, it could lead to feeling overwhelmed even by your own knowledge. Now you got a lot of stuff swirling around in your head, but even that thought of all that you know is overwhelming. And it can also lead to reduced creativity and productivity. So you may think you're doing the right thing by gathering more tools, collecting more certificates, but accumulation without transformation creates inertia. It's like carrying extra weight. You can move, but you're only moving slowly. And most people don't want to move slowly. So let's talk about how to reduce this dampness. All right. How can we reduce dampness? Because reducing dampness is about simplifying and integrating, not just adding more effort. Okay. It's about simplifying and integrating. So I'm going to give you 3 strategies. Okay. One is body focused strategies. So you want to take herbs for your body that can transform dampness. One strong one is ginger, as well as aromatic herbs. Okay. Number 2, let me stay on body focused strategies. Also within body focused strategies, movement to stimulate your digestion as well as circulation. So walk, stretch, dance. If you can, run. Okay, get the body moving. And then also take foods that support transformation, lightly cooked vegetables, warming spices. All right. So that's the body focused strategies. Number 2, your business focused strategies. Choose to focus on one project this week, just one project. Okay. Apply the knowledge you already have instead of trying to collect more. Because trust me, if you are a true researcher, as most herbalists are, you already have enough information to probably have half a library to be able to share with someone else. Okay, so apply the knowledge you already have instead of trying to collect more. Create routines that convert your ideas into action, because you don't want just to sit and have ideas. You can have 1,000 things that you can do, but if you don't see them on the board and they're not moving and they don't come into fruition, they're just ideas, taking up more space, taking up more energy, creating more dampness. And then the other thing is let go of tasks, courses, or information that aren't serving your current focus. So if your current focus is on, let's say you want to zero in on the endocrine system, right? That's really what you want to specialize in. And I always encourage herbalists to niche down, because there's way too much information for you to know, for you to just be a general herbalist. There's too many different paths that you can take, and each of those paths require a certain level of knowledge. So why frustrate yourself? What is it that you're passionate in? Okay. Zero in on that. Because if you're in herbal medicine, you have a passion somewhere. Somebody has a passion for just pets. Somebody has a passion for seniors. Somebody has a passion for clients that have missing limbs or missing organs. You know what I mean? Everybody has a different passion or different focus. So if you have that, and really you should, do not take any other task, create any other task, take any other courses or certifications, or try to absorb any information that takes you away from that current focus. Okay. And number 3, this is the integrative insight. Transformation happens when energy moves. So with dampness, it's not about doing more. It's about moving what you already have. So keep that in mind. It's not about doing more. It's not about collecting. Okay. It's about moving what you already have. So I'm going to give you some key action steps as well as takeaways that I want you to do for this week. So some key points for this week are to 1, understand that dampness slows the body and your business. It's accumulation without movement. That's dampness. Number 2, it creates heaviness, overwhelm, and indecision. Number 3, the antidote, okay, the antidote for dampness is simplification, focus, and moving what you already have. So pick one area in your business and in your life where you are holding on to too much and release or simplify. Focus on one small action that moves your energy forward. Okay? So if you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. And I know I say this at the end all the time, but I truly mean that. Share this with another herbalist, another plant enthusiast, another person that even if they're stuck in their life, share it with them. Okay, this information and these small steps, my podcasts aren't going on for hours and hours and hours. This is just some nuggets to get you going in your life. So please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my social media sites at The Demystified Herbalist. Follow me as well, or go over to my website, www.thedemystifiedherbalist.com. And as always, put your comments down below. Talk to us. Let's make this a community here and share, how you're doing. How are you creating steps to remove dampness in your life? How have you identified it? Again, let's build community. And with that, family, until next time, I'm out.